Hey, how's it going? This is Evan with Leaderboard. I'm representing Passenger in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. And joining me today is Jay. Jay is a member of our retail team and one of the newest additions to our team here at Passenger. And I was really excited that Jay was willing to join me today to reveal the coffee that we most recently contributed to the most recent season of Leaderboard.
Yes.
But before we actually reveal that coffee, I wanted to ask you, Jay, could you share a little bit about when you started at Passenger and maybe something that you particularly enjoy when you're working in the cafe?
Definitely. I started with Passenger shortly 4 months ago, and I've loved every day of it. Every shift that I come into, I come almost prepared, to go on a spiel about our coffee from different regions. But really, I'm learning just as much as a customer is every single day. And from the beginning of my time, I've kind of realized how my veteran coworkers who step up to the plate and answer every question a customer has kind of, form into that and go along with them. And they give me the confidence almost to describe the coffee as they would. But I've started to develop my own way of doing that as well. And that almost makes me feel like I'm part of a family that, just loves coffee, loves the quality of our coffee as well. And yeah, that's it.
No, absolutely. I feel like from a very early stage, sort of interacting with you in the cafe, that enthusiasm for coffee, for quality, but also for people is something that I always appreciated about you from a very early stage.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm so glad that you're here to taste this coffee with me and kind of share what this coffee is. So I guess maybe now's a good time, if you'd like to actually reveal what coffee we contributed to Leaderboard this season.
Woohoo.
Drum roll! What do we got?
3, 2, 1. It's the Haza.
It's the Haza.
From Burundi.
From Burundi, indeed. Yeah, so there's so much that we could share about this coffee. Probably need to keep things brief today. But essentially, I'll start by saying that Haza, just like Agaro, which was the coffee that we contributed to the previous season of Leaderboard, Haza is also one of Passenger's foundational coffees. And by that we mean it's a coffee that for a number of consecutive years, we've sourced from one of the same 5 producer partnerships. Our general sort of vision for these partnerships is trying to offer really sort of consistent buying to the same sort of 5 coffee producing communities year after year. A lot of the thinking behind that is we want to try to at least play a part in reducing risk that coffee producers face by coming back every year with an intent to buy hopefully more and more coffee over time. So the bulk of our buying sort of focus is on these 5 foundational partnerships, and Haza is specifically named for a washing station in Kayanza province, Burundi, where this coffee was processed. Haza is the second washing station that our friends and partners at the Long Miles Coffee Project built in Burundi back in 2014. Which is kind of an interesting alignment because 2014 is also when Passenger got its start as a roasting company. So even before we had Haza sort of as a designated foundational coffee on our menu, many sort of lots from the Long Miles project graced our menu over the years. So it's definitely a long-standing relationship that we have with the amazing team at Long Miles.
Awesome. And
with the community of farmers that they work with in Burundi. There's a lot more that I could talk about the project and a lot more that we could share about, so many aspects of Burundian coffee. But the cool thing about that sort of situation is that there's already a really amazing sort of video in the resources sort of area of the Leaderboard site that was put together by Ben Carlson and David Stallings, who are the founder and the head of roaster relations for Long Miles. And those guys did a really amazing job sort of telling the Long Miles story and also taking a deep dive into Burundian coffee. So for anyone that wants to kind of dig into Long Miles and Burundian coffee in greater detail, you should definitely check out that video if you haven't already. So I think at this point, it probably makes sense for us to go ahead and spend a little bit of time tasting Haza and maybe sharing a little bit of the sensory attributes that we're picking up that might sort of make us think and like if we were tasting this coffee blind, some of the qualities that might inspire us to guess that this was Haza. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Definitely.
So we have a couple things here. Let's initially check out this sample. So I ground some coffee of the Haza, and I thought we could start by just kind of smelling the dry fragrance and talking about what we're getting. So let's check it out. What do you think? Are there any sort of aromas that are especially prominent for you, Jay?
Yeah, like cooked dry fruit. Definitely.
I get a lot of that too, sort of like a raisiny, maybe even like a little bit of date.
Yeah.
I think for me, I also get like sort of at the base of the aromatics, like a very sort of warming, rich, sort of browning sugar, molassesy quality.
Oh yeah.
And then maybe also something kind of reminiscent of sweet pastry or
something candied.
Definitely.
Almost.
Yeah, definitely something candied.
It is a hint.
Right?
Yeah, just a hint.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's only so much that we can get at this stage before we're actually tasting the coffee. But initially, smelling that combination of black tea, sort of molassesy, browning sugar kind of quality, and then those hints of dried fruit, maybe even a little bit of citrus peel. I feel like if we were tasting this coffee blind, I'm not sure that I would know that it was a Burundi, but I would definitely wonder if this was a coffee sort of from the Great Lakes region of Africa. So maybe a Burundi coffee, maybe a Rwandan coffee, maybe a coffee from Tanzania or Congo, something like that, a coffee from that region. I think that combination of caramely, browning sugar kind of notes, but also that
Almost
sort of
tropical.
Yeah, almost a hint of tropical fruit and some black tea. It would at least make me think about those types of coffees.
Definitely.
It smells really good.
Heck yeah.
Let's go ahead and transition to some brewed coffee. So I just kind of brewed us a little pour over here. It's hanging out off camera. Cheers.
Cheers.
Wow, it's really sweet. I think for me, two flavors that jump in my mind right away on the front end are more of that like pleasantly bitter black tea and molasses, but also for me at least, stone fruit, like kind of like a sweet cherry apricot kind of thing. How does it taste to you? What jumps out to you?
Something almost fruited, but at the back end, I do get a caramel like sweetness base.
Yeah.
And it's not so sweet that you would steer away from it, but it's almost inviting, like you said, warm, and it's a great cup of coffee, start in the morning. And
I think the word warm is so appropriate, and it really connects with my experience with this coffee for sure. So I think so many of the flavors for me kind of fit so nicely under kind of the warming umbrella, So for me, I often think of coffees seasonally, not necessarily in terms of the season that they were harvested, but more the season that I particularly enjoy them. And for me, this is a coffee of autumn.
like exactly like that. Like you're inside watching the rain from your window, and whatever drink you're holding in your hand, this is what it would taste like.
Yeah, this would be perfect. Like, you hope that it tastes like this when it's kind of getting a little chilly outside.
Definitely.
Yeah, and you just want to feel cozy. Maybe you're wearing a sweater, sipping a little haza.
Totally.
You know, life feels pretty good in that situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this would be like a really good like Thanksgiving coffee. You know what I mean? Because I think it just has that like balance of warming baking spices, a little bit of fruit, like you're saying, and an incredible depth of sweetness.
Incredible.
Like, I get all of that sort of cherry and apricot, but also that like molassesy sweetness and a little bit of pleasant astringency from that black tea base on the finish.
It's something definitely that you want to stay on your palate. That aftertaste. It's just very inviting.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really clean, a little bit of that fruit, maybe even like a hint of something floral as well, which I really enjoy about this coffee. So yeah, I feel like to recap, we're super, super proud to be able to share Haza with you, a beautiful coffee from the Long Miles Coffee Project in Kayanza province, Burundi. And for us, the sort of key sensory qualities that would sort of hint to us that this is likely a Burundian coffee, and certainly if it was on our production cupping table, we would definitely think that this was Haza, is kind of that beautiful sort of balance of black tea and molasses on the base, and then nice kind of layers of citrus and stone fruit in the middle, maybe a little bit more of that black tea on the finish, and maybe a hint of florals. But
This is like good all around coffee. I feel like this is a perfect coffee for all customers.
Exactly.
Whatever flavor profile fits you, this is the perfect middle ground.
Well, and I think a big part of that is this is a sweet coffee, but for me, one of the virtues of this coffee is balance.
Balance, yeah.
I think all of those qualities are really beautifully balanced. Nothing is like way out front. It's just sort of very those flavors are very sort of pleasingly arranged to kind of enjoy. So yeah, I guess what I would say is at this point, we can probably wrap up and just enjoy the rest of this Haza. But thanks, Jay. This was such a pleasure.
Of course.
Thank you so much, Leaderboard, for the opportunity to share this coffee. And to all of you tasters out there, I hope it's been a really fun season. Happy tasting.
Have a great day.